Hello there. Welcome to or welcome back to my channel, Snips by Kelly. I'm Kelly, and tonight I have a beautiful 2-page outdoor scrapbook layout featuring large photos and a large story using the Autumn Toile collection. So last week I made this beautiful Autumn Toile scrapbook page featuring my grandson, Waylon James, and it had a country vibe, and I used pumpkins and acorns and a real fall theme. Tonight I want to use the same Autumn Toile collection, focusing on forest, trees, hiking, and outdoors. So here I am on a hike in some amazing trees, and you look up from where I'm standing and look at the magnificent view. The view upward gives you a whole different perspective of the trees. And then I have several photos of my friend Kim and I hiking through Drift Creek Falls. It's a hike to Drift Creek Falls. You can see the falls there, and it's in Oregon. I traveled to Oregon, unfortunately, for a funeral, but because Kim lived in the area, we met up and spent the day together. Kim and I actually met through paper crafting, and we had never met in person, although I feel like we've known each other for years because paper crafting connected us. So you can see here in the layout that I created last week, I used the Amber Autumn pumpkins and acorns that comes in the Autumn Toile Suite collection, but now I want to focus on the second Stampin' die set that comes in that collection called Autumn Trees, and I think it's going to be perfect. We're actually going to start with two 12 by 12 basic beige bases, and then I have two extra pieces of basic beige here, and I'm just going to ink the edges with pecan pie to dirty those up a little bit. So on the left side, it's going to be a photo mat for two 5 by 5 photos. So I have a 5 3/4 by 10 3/4, or excuse me, 5.5 by 10.5 basic beige on the left, two 5 by 5 photos, and then on the right, I have a 6.5 by 9 3/4 basic beige photo mat and 6 3 by 3 photos. And then of course I'm going to add some pops of color with coordinating colors that coordinate with Autumn Toile, and Cajun Craze is one of those. And I think it helps to really bring out a contrast color and a pop of a fall color amidst a lot of the gorgeous neutrals in this set. So you have a really a busier pattern here that's gorgeous trees and deer. And then you have the flip side, which is the fall foliage and the pumpkins. So you could go either way, and I love that. So that's why I wanted to focus on the trees tonight to document this trip and our wonderful, wonderful hike to Drift Creek Falls. So I love that I could get really large focal photos on the left because I think those trees are magnificent. They're so gorgeous. I really wanted to feature those, but I also wanted to feature Kim and I and the fun that we had and the visiting that we did on this hike. So I'm going to actually duplicate the pieces on the left and the right and then adjust them a little. So let's go through the pieces as I'm trying to arrange them. The striped piece is 3 by 12. We will have 2 of those. The espresso graph paper is 3 by 10. We'll have 2 of those. And then we have a 1 by 8 tree paper. We'll have 2 of those. And a 1.5 by 8 tree paper. We'll have 2 of those. And I liked the concept. I wasn't quite sure if it was going to work out or not, but I love the concept of staggering from the upper left all the way down to the lower right, just those strips of paper. But of course, I'm going to ink the edges with pecan pie and give it that rustic fall look and just a little bit of a finished look. So I'm going to start the striped piece at 2 inches, and then I'll tuck that little 1-inch piece in there on the left, actually 1.5-inch piece. Only about an inch of it is going to show. Actually, it is the inch piece, and only about an inch of it is going to show, and or excuse me, 3/4 of an inch of it is going to show. And then I want to toggle that photo mat so that it just sort of hugs the corner, and a little bit more of that corner and the left side of that shows. And my idea here is that I will duplicate, which is a great way to make a companion page if you duplicate the pieces, and you can either rotate those to an opposite direction, or you could change the the position of those. So what I'm thinking is I will flip those so that they're mirroring each other, and then I'll stagger the pieces so that they're going a little bit more downward, have them almost like the opposite, so that they're starting higher on the upper left of the left page and they're ending up lower on the lower right page, so that you kind of have a little bit of a diagonal feel all the way down across the page. Such a simple, basic layout, and it's so easy to find a single page layout that you love, but it's not always easy to figure out what to do to create a companion page. And so often I will duplicate the pieces and just rotate the pieces on the page in just different orientations if I'm looking for a very simple layout and a go-to. I really wanted the photos and the story to be the focal part of this layout, and I love the concept of creating an oversized hidden journal box. So what I'm going to do here, the Cajun Craze pieces, if I didn't already say, are just 1/4 of an inch bigger than the basic beige. So on the left, it's 5 3/4 by 10 3/4 is the Cajun Craze, and on the right, it is 6 3/4 by 10. But I only want to put foam tape on 3 sides of the back side of the basic beige. And our strips work really, really well. We have adhesive foam strips. And what I do is I actually put the strip on the left side of the back side of the basic beige, on the top and on the bottom. Now later I decide to change my mind and actually flip those foam pieces so that I have foam on the right of the back, the top of the back, and the bottom of the back, because I actually want the hidden journal piece to pull out to the right. So the way I'm doing it here, the hidden journal piece is going to pull to the left, and I wasn't thinking about that being a little bit inconvenient. It's going to be a lot easier to make a slit in my page protector on the right and have whatever pulley system that I put on my hidden journaling piece on the right and pull it through the page protector on the right. So what I'm going to do is just mount this on to the Cajun Craze, and then I will actually pull that back up off camera, adjust my foam strips, and then I'll put that so that the opening is the opposite direction. So what we're trying to do here is create a little opening by not putting foam tape on one side. And I've created a journal on my Word document, and I've printed it on basic beige. So the basic beige journal piece is 5 3/4 by 9, so that it fits nice and snug inside the hidden journaling piece. Now I'm actually going to grab a stamp that is out of that same stamp set, that comes right in the Autumn Toile collection. And it's autumn trees, and it has these little stones with some little grass and a little bit of fauna or things peeking through. And I thought, I'm just going to keep it so simple. And I stamped those stones in espresso on the lower right of the journal card. I had a lot to say about this because it's just so amazing. I know it's hard for people to probably understand unless you are in this community. Our Stampin' Up community and our paper crafting community is so incredible. And it's so incredible when a hobby or a passion brings together people from all over the world. And I have known Kim through paper crafting for quite a few years, but we've never met in person. And I'm going to tell you, she was so lovely. Like, we were such fast friends. I mean, I felt like we were friends before, but we were such fast friends, and we visited like we were just old friends, and we filled up an entire day of visiting. Now, I actually want a pulley system here, and there is one of my brand new favorites I'm bringing in, and that is the branching out die set. So there's so much in the branching out stamp and die set that I'm not even going to be touching the tip of the iceberg. But one of my favorite things about the new branching up stamp and die set is there are stitched frames inside of a variety of sizes, and they fit and nest inside each other. And there's so many things that you can do with them. You can use that as card sentiment pieces. You can do so many things with those pieces on scrapbooking pages, and I'm going to make it into my pulley system. So I put foam tape just on the left-hand side, and I actually made my inner part out of an additional pattern paper piece from Autumn Toile. And I actually want to put a sentiment on that. And I remembered that we also have words for the season. Now, these have so many beautiful, heartfelt stamped sentiments in the stamp set, but in the dies, they have die cut sentiments that have to do with different seasons. So Christmas and New Year's and fall. So I'm going to pull out one that says Autumn Wishes. Now, I will say I left the little dot off of the eye on purpose because it's so tiny. And I was planning on putting a little jewel or a gem in place of the dot, and I forgot to do that. So I'm going to have to go back and do that, but I think it's going to be really beautiful on the pulley system. And now we need bits. So I'm going to pull out Autumn Trees that comes in the Sweet Collection, and I covered everything that comes in the Sweet Collection in my last video, the video that I made using the Amber Autumn and the Autumn Toile of Waylon James called Blue Jean Kid. And I'll link that layout and that video here if you want to look at all of the things that come in the Autumn Toile set. But it's great designer series paper, 2 stamp and die sets, which are beautiful. And these Amber or Autumn Trees I have been dying to use. I haven't been sure like what I'm going to use them for, but Kim and I went to Oregon. I believe I already said that I was there for a funeral, but I had an extra day and we just committed to spending the day together. We actually were going to meet another demonstrator friend of mine and another customer and paper crafter of mine. And the demonstrator had a big trip she was going on and couldn't come. And then the other paper crafter was sick. So it ended up being just a lovely day for the two of us. And we met for coffee and breakfast. And then we took a long drive. So we took a drive to, I believe it was toward Lincoln City, and this is called Drift Creek Falls, and it has an enormous suspension bridge. It's not a long hike, maybe 3 miles, and you get in and then you can cross this suspension bridge and see the waterfall. The water was really low, so it wasn't as magnificent once you got there, but it was beautiful, but the hike itself was gorgeous. So now I'm showing you these autumn trees. They are crazy cool. So there's so many different ways you can go. You can cut the base piece out of pattern paper or cardstock. You can cut an upper layer that has more intricate pieces out of it that looks like a more realistic tree. And then you can cut little different tree leaves and parts and pieces to put on the top of the tree. Or you can stamp all of the different parts and pieces, the tree, the deer, the stones. So I wanted to try it both ways. I love both ways, but I do decide to go with one where I do a little coloring. Now, I'm not going to make you watch all of my markering, but I'm going in on the tree with the dark pecan pie, and I'm just shading the natural areas. I stamped all the tree and the shrubs and the deer and the stones all in Memento Black, which makes them less likely to blur when you color with alcohol markers over the top. And so I'm coming in with the dark mossy meadow in the natural lines. So I'm only filling in the lines that are already stamped there. And then I'll come back in with the blending brush part with the light side of both of those colors, pecan pie and mossy meadow. I'm going to do the exact same coloring on the shrubs and the deer, where you just go dark pecan pie for the natural dark spots and light pecan pie for the rest of the deer. I'm not doing a bunch of shading. And then I'm doing the same thing on the stones. I'm using mossy meadow on the grassy part, pecan pie on the other parts and pieces, and then actually using a gray on the stones. And this is how those pieces turned out. I really love that look. The gray that I opted to use was dark gray granite. So now you can see I have my pull out oversized journaling. I have the trees and the shrubs and the rocks or stones and the deer. And it blends into the background because of the neutral tones. And it also seems to just chunk there. But I love it. I just need to add some thickness and some flourishes. And it reminded me of Beautiful Motifs. Beautiful Motifs is another gorgeous stamp set that's brand new, but it has these gorgeous ferns in it. It also has some dimensional pop-out leaves. They don't actually cut out all the way around. They're designed to cut into the paper and then have little parts and pieces that you can pull up. But what I opted to do is cut them and then fussy cut around them so I could add a little bit of an interactive element in them. I'm just going to use them as an embellishment, and they're not going to be embedded inside the paper, but I loved them. And of course, I'm going to ink all of the flourishes with pecan pie, but I want to get dry placement first because I wanted to mimic how the hike to Drift Creek Falls looked. Just gorgeous trees of all different kinds, every kind of tree imaginable, so many ferns, mushrooms, stumps, and wood, and water running, and just a beautiful, beautiful trail. The temperature was perfect, and literally Kim and I visited all the way there and all the way back. She is an incredible human being who is so giving, and she does mission work. I learned so much about her that I thought that I really knew so much about her for her sharing Stampin' Up! And previously close to my heart with me as a paper crafter. And it was so cool to come to this in-person meeting after visiting online and on the phone for so many years. It was just so cool. And she was a great hostess. We had a beautiful supper after that. And I really can't even tell you how therapeutic this was, especially going for a funeral, but being able to take in some of the local sites. I was born in Oregon, but I haven't been back there since I was a girl because my family moved me to South Dakota. So I wanted to use some of these elements and make just a cute little scene on the lower left. So I want to use one of the smaller trees or shrubs, a couple of the stones that I colored, one of the deer, and then of course you can do die cut pieces. Even though the die cut pieces are sort of designed to go inside the die cut shrub or bush or small tree, whatever you want to call it, it actually makes a great piece of foliage or a great branch or a great little skeletal tree. So I'm just going to arrange those pieces that I created up in the upper left to make that look full, and it really, really makes it mimic or mirror the hike that we took, and it helps the big, beautiful tree to not get lost in the background. So now that I'm happy with the dry placement, at least on the left, I'm going to come back in and I'm going to pounce on those. So sometimes when you have really delicate leaves and you go to ink the edges, you can bend the edges or you can tear the edges, but you can actually come in with a mini ink blending tool and just pounce on the edges. You're going to tap, tap, tap and pounce, 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 and it's going to give some great color to the edges of those dies, the die cut pieces. without ripping or tearing. And so you're just not as aggressive with the edges like that. So now I'm happy with the left side, other than maybe adding a little bit of bling. We'll kind of see here. So now I want to negotiate. I want to be able to have this gorgeous pull out story, but I also still want foliage in there. So I'm going to negotiate my position here so that nothing gets caught on the pull-out journal part, but yet I can have that decorative element in there. So I'm having to pull things up and rearrange things. Some things are going to have to be tucked under so that that slide element can still work. Now, if you didn't notice, whatever side I didn't put foam tape on when I created my little journal pocket is going to sink down farther. So in order to adjust and make sure that it's the even height with the left side foam and the right side of the pocket, I'm going to use the foam that I've added in the pull-out piece to balance that. So because I added those 3 or 4 foam squares to attach the pull-out lever, that balanced and made the left side and the right side of the pocket flush again, because those foam dots underneath that pull-out piece push up the right side, and so that it slides super easy. I'm just navigating here with my flourishes so that I know that no matter who pulls it out, that it's going to pull out without pulling out the flourishes up on the upper right there. Now, I don't want to leave the right side of the sentiment piece or the title piece blank, but I also don't want it to be overpowering because we have such a big cluster on the top. So I think what I'd like to do is I broke off a few of the leaves so that it made a little bit of a V there. And then I'm adding a little bit of the basic beige twigs up at the top. And then I think I'll try to see if I can't add a peeking deer up there so that we have a little bit of balance. You have a deer on the lower left and you have a deer on the lower right, and isn't too much, it's just enough. And then I made all those flourish pieces out of light and dark mossy meadow, pecan pie, and basic beige. Those were the only colors I used. I tried to stay super true to the parts and pieces of the collection in terms of the colors. And now there's gorgeous, gorgeous streaked dots that are kind of a Cajun craze color, but they're like a streak wood dot that come in the Sweet collection. And I'll link in the description the Sweet collection so you can take a look at that and everything that I used in today's scrapbook layout. I'll also link the previous layout that I did. I'm getting happier and happier. I love that I was able to tell the whole story about Kim and I and our beautiful hike to Lincoln City to Drift Creek Falls, and my travels to Oregon, the beautiful trees, and the perspective just getting outdoors gives you. I love that paper crafting brought us together and that we have this connection and that we were able to share this time. I absolutely loved it. I loved getting to know her even more, and I love the scenery in Oregon. There's so much beauty in the coast and in the hills and in the trees. It was just lovely. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you really love this autumn toile layout and some of the tips and tricks that I gave today. I hope you'll give me a thumbs up, hit like, subscribe, the notifications bell, and definitely shoot me a comment and let me know your thoughts. Come back soon for more tips, tricks, and just visit with me and share the love of paper crafting with me, and come back soon right here on Snips by Kelly. Happy scrapping, everyone. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.